Welcome once again to the online tutorial for philosophy. And yeah, we are still on Introduction to Philosophy, and we are taking a look at the topic ethical decision. So, ethical decision is concerned with judgments about the rightness and wrongness of our decision when it comes to moral issues. How do we determine which actions are morally right or not? Okay, so we determine this our decision making through the models of ethical decisions. Okay, so there are two primary models in ethical decision making. The first one is the stages in which decision making goes through, right? When we are faced with ethical issues. The second one is the different influence on our decision making. So the first one being the stages in decision making we go through when we are faced with ethical issue. Uh, those stages are four. The first one is the awareness, and this is the recognition stage when you recognize the kind of situation you are in, and that you have to take an action. Right. The second stage is judgment, and this is when you evaluate the situation and the kind of action you want to take, right? The third one is intention. What is the motive behind your action? What is the motive behind this action you intend to take, right? Now, the last one is the behavioral, and this is when you take that action, right? The action stage, right? Okay, so those are the stages in decision making we go through in when we are faced with ethical issues. Okay, so now the second model, primary model, is the different influence on our decision making, and this influence include egoism, altruism, emotivism, situationalism, and so on. I'm going to be explaining those ones later on in the audio. Okay, so now according to Mark Swartz, there are two perspectives people look at when they want to make ethical decision, right? The first one is the rationalist perspective, and in here you think before you act. You uh, look at if the decision you want to make is actually logical before you act, right? That is when you are faced with the situation, right? Now the second one people do go through is intuitive, right? And this is when we feel like we have to make good quick decisions. We are sentimental when we are making decision, or we are being emotional when we make decision. We do not want to appeal to if there is a logical reason behind that decision. Okay, so according to Maxwell, those are the two perspectives, right? Don't confuse this with the primary models for ethical decision making. Okay, so now, like I said, the number two of the primary model are the influences on our decision making, and these influences include what prompt us to make such decision. Okay, so now we have uh, emotivism, and under emotivism, actions and words that are related to moral issue are based on our appeal or subjection to emotions. That is, whatever action we take or whatever word we say when we are faced with moral issue are done due to we appealing to our emotion. Like David Hume said that reason is a slave of passion, and we have to submit to it. That is, there is no human on earth that is not faced with, does not have an emotional state on their mind, right? Every day, every moment, your emotion is always there, right? So whenever you make decisions or say things, you are doing that due to your emotions, due to your mood that you are feeling, right? So even reason, that is logic, is a slave to this passion, according to David Hume, right? So we cannot deny the place of passion when we are making decision. Okay, so that is to David Hume. Okay, so the next one we have egoism, and then yeah, our self-interest comes first when we want to make ethical decision. It doesn't matter if the decision we make now is going to benefit us now or in the future, but whatever I want to do, whatever action we want to take, we put our self-interest first, right? And this is very, very common. According to Thomas Hobbes, man is selfish by nature. Okay, so now man consider himself first before he considers others when he makes decision. And we shouldn't confuse this that those who are for egoism are saying uh, whatever you do has to affect others as long as it doesn't affect you. No, they are not after that you harm others. They're after that you have to prioritize yourself first, okay, before you put others. You consider yourself first, okay. So that is for egoism. Okay, so the opposite of egoism, another influence on our decision making is altruism, and yeah, they say that you have to help others as this is an obligation, even if it means you sacrifice your self-interest. Okay, so one of the propaganda of this theory was Auguste Comte, is in his popular phrase, live you have to live for others, right? Okay, so this is not really popular because it's not all of us that want to deny ourselves and help others first. Okay, so altruism is more concerned about selflessness for the welfare of others. Okay, so that is altruism. The next one we are going to consider is situationism, also called situational ethics. Okay, yeah, our moral decision is based on a set of circumstances, that is the situation in which we find ourselves in, and we have to consider this situation wholly. That is, we have to consider the whole situation, and then we make a decision which is in the most loving way. Okay, so Joseph Fletcher was the catalyst of this position. Now, an example of a situational ethics action is when you you do not support uh, surgery or a session or stuff like that, but you are in a position where you can actually donate blood to help save a life. You do not support the idea of having cuts on your body, but because of that situation and you want to help save a life, you have to bend your own principle, your own rule, just to help save a life. So that is situation ethics. Okay, so it could be lying is wrong too. Okay, but in a situation where you have to lie to save your life, that is situation ethics. So I hope you get that. Okay, the next one I want to look at is utilitarianism, and then this is quite also popular, right? Okay, so utilitarianism is a form of consequentialism, and that is, whenever you want to take an action, the outcome of that action is what we have to consider. Okay, now, so it is this intended outcome that should be the basis that will guide our decision making. If it's going to benefit the highest number of people, right? Now, utilitarianism is saying that our action, it must be for the highest good for the highest number of people. Okay, so to them we have to any action that maximize happiness or pleasure should is what we should do, and we should try to minimize any action that will cause pain or or something bad, sha. Okay, so we have to minimize such action. So it's a form of Epicurean ethics too, that is pleasure is what is right. Okay, so the two major philosophers in this aspect is J.S. Mill and Jeremy Bentham. So okay, to J.S. Mill, you when you are seeking an action for the benefit of the highest number of people, is not a must you are a part of those who will benefit from uh, that action. Okay, but to Jeremy Bentham, you should be included among those who the highest number of people that will benefit from that highest good. Okay, so when we say utilitarianism, the utility there is the happiness to be gotten, and this happiness should be for the larger percentage of people. So, for example, of that case in the US where a kid was shooting, right? There was a woman who, one of the teachers, who ran into the scene and tried to protect so many kids. In that case, she lost her own life, but that action she did was able to save at least a higher percentage of people, right? For them not to lose their life too. So that action was intended for the happiness of a large higher number of people. Okay, so that is utilitarianism. Okay, so those are the influences we have discussed under the primary models, the second primary models for ethical decision making. Thank you so much for listening to. In the next audio, we'll be talking about moral issue. Please kindly turn on notification, like and subscribe.